Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bayou Ballers podcast. We are here today on this Wednesday evening. How y'all doing? I'm your host, Tay Visuals. Got my guy over here, Trey. How you doing today, brother?
Man, doing good, man. It's a little chilly over here, but not winter wonderland like it is back home.
Yeah, man. New Orleans, we do have some snow. For our New Orleans people watching this, y'all know it's been a snowy Tuesday and still some snow out there. So hoping everybody's safe, everybody enjoying the snow, making their videos and stuff. I am included. So we here to get in some NFL coaching. Yeah. Go tell mommy. Tell mommy. All right. But we here to talk about some NFL coaching hirings and openings and upcoming conference championship games. My team, man, who I thought was gonna make it, man, lost in tremendous fashion. Me and Trey had some opposing opinions on why they lost. But you want to review that game, or you want to just go to the coaching?
Which game?
The Ravens game.
Oh man.
Ravens versus
I
Bills.
mean, like I said in my pod, no disrespect, but I mean, Ravens play for the narratives, right? I mean, we talk about this a lot. Are you trying to win the game, or are you trying to win the court of public opinion and what people say about you? And this isn't the first time with the Ravens, in my opinion. I feel like the past few years, they've been trying to show us that Lamar is going to do it throwing the ball as often as possible because of the narratives around him and him not being as polished of a quarterback as some of his peers like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, just to name a couple. And in some of the key moments in the game, when you got King Henry, you brought him there for a reason. He only gets 16 carries, and he was averaging 5 yards a carry. And I know people were like, well, they were down double digits early. Well, there's a reason why they were down double digits, and that's also because their quarterback turned the ball over twice in the first half. And those are just things Lamar can't do. I get it. At the end of the day, he started to come alive in the second half. Mark Andrews had the two worst possessions of his NFL career, right? The fumble on one where it's like, you never made people miss. That's not your deal. Like just catch the ball, run forward, see if you can get 2 or 3 yards extra. And ends up fumbling. And then the next possession, Lamar uses all of his abilities, his legs, his arm, his ability to escape the pocket and make plays on the run and on the move. Finds Isaiah Likely wide open for the touchdown, have a chance to go for two. They bring Derrick Henry onto the field, and then they pass the ball to Mark Andrews, who, I get it, that's your top guy, but he hasn't been your top guy tonight. He's had his issues. You know what it reminded me of, bro?
What?
Remember when Spencer Rattler came in the Washington game and he got the Saints down and they scored a touchdown by throwing it to Foster Moreau?
Okay.
And then for the 2-point conversion, they ran the same play, but they ran it for Jawan Johnson. And we ended up losing the game because it bricked off his hands. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
But
Just go to the guy that's hot right now. But I just felt like in that moment, if you're gonna go for two, you gotta give the 22. Or at least you gotta either they're gonna stop 22 or they gotta decide: am I gonna stop Derrick Henry running with a full head of steam to get these 2 yards, or do I gotta protect the edge from Lamar? And they didn't do either. So it is what it is, man. I wanted Lamar to win. I wanted the Ravens to win, but it's just another year, another disappointment, and kind of in similar fashion of just playing for the narratives and not playing to win the game.
One thing I think about I think the narrative the narrative based, I guess, discussion around the Ravens and them trying to fit the narrative is, I think it's kind of like a year or two old argument now, because I think Lamar this year has been a polished passer. He has been in the likes of who you just named, Joe Burrow and Mahomes. But the only thing I think about that separates Mahomes and Lamar, because I believe Lamar is the second best quarterback other than Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. I think they follow behind him. I believe Mahomes is number one. And I think what makes Mahomes number one is his situational football, the plays he makes doing situation football. Kind of like, I'll say this. That's what separated Brady. I don't think he was the best quarterback, like overall, and he didn't have the best seasons each season back to back. But situational football, third down, fourth quarter thing, even though we know the refs, they balance a little bit out when we get it. They help the Chiefs out a little. They get calls because that roughing the passer that I seen on Lamar out of bounds. I seen that instead. Mahomes would have definitely got that. So I'm gonna leave that over there. But when in the fourth quarter comes, I think we all know like even Lamar got him down the field. When they're down by 8, throw the ball right down the field. And when he got the ball, there's only a few quarterbacks. When they down like that, they get the ball and I'll be like, all right, they're going down the field and score. And I feel that way about Lamar. I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but I say that when I see Joe Burrow, Lamar, Josh Allen to a certain extent, and definitely Mahomes because they've been there and done it so many times. And just on that 2-point conversion, I felt, it is what it is. Mark Andrews dropped it. That's what I thought it just all came down to. But I think Lamar bounced back real well after that. The first half, the 2 turnovers, one fumble was really deadly because it led to a touchdown. I looked at the pick, was like, I don't know what the hell he was throwing, just an overshot, basically a damn punt how he threw it. So I was like, what the hell was that? But hey, I didn't think that affected it too much because I know turnover. A lot of people are hard on the turnovers, but when I look at the game, if it come down, you got back into the game, and it come down to one play, I'm like, all right, the turnovers didn't really matter at that point because you in the game. One play separates you from sending it, from tying it up because the Bills, they have a minute plus left if they got it. That's how I look at it because I'm like, if the turnover's there and hey, you missed say you missed a field goal, something like that, you leave points off the board. I'm not sure. I think the Ravens were close to field goal range when he fumbled. I know they were. Yeah, that was about midfield. So. And I think it was like a second or third down. So they might have could have got some points off that the way Justin Tucker has been bouncing back. That's probably the only thing I have to say. But I think Lamar had a great second half. I do love the Derrick Henry point you made because they had a drive where I think they ran it 11 times, all runs. Every play. On the Bills that drive. And I think he would have had more time, but the Mark Andrews fumble set him back because that was the possession that they had that they were gonna get a touchdown. They were driving on that point too because Lamar mentioned in the post game that hey, we were moving the ball every drive. It was literally moving the ball every drive, but the Mark Andrews fumble, and the pick and the fumble in the first half, but that fumble by Mark it killed the momentum because they stopped the Bills, and I think they could have got some points, and that would have changed it because it wouldn't have been an 8-point game,
right?
And that kind of probably would have changed the Bills' thought process of kicking that field goal down on the goal line. They probably would have went for the touchdown and try to knock him out. So, but Mark Andrews had a rough night. But I ain't here to blame one person. I just think
it was a team. It was a collective. In the ways Lamar, like to your point, Lamar said, it was a collective losing effort. Everybody made plays to lose them the game.
It was a great game. It was a great game. It was a great game all over. It's just the Ravens didn't make enough plays to win the game. Shout out to the Bills for getting it done, though. They forced the turnovers. None of them, the Mark Andrews play was a great punch out by Bernard, and Lamar turnovers just self-inflicted. Nobody forced that. He just dropped the ball on one of them and just gave a pickup. So, but the Bills will be facing the Chiefs. You want to touch on?
Yeah, we can touch on. We can just touch on the conference championship weekends and then get.
I want to give a shout out to our boy too, Jaden Daniels, man, for getting it done. Rookie quarterback might be going to the Super Bowl against Philly. Yeah. That is tough. Your quick thoughts on the Commanders?
I didn't expect them to be here. I think we both picked Tampa Bay to win.
Yes,
that wild card matchup, and
I know that was my school to pick Tampa Bay.
Right. What's funny is, Washington just won the game playing their way. They're going to run the ball. They're going to utilize every aspect of Jaden's game and not ask him to do it too much, but understanding that, hey, when we do need you to make a play, he has that ability both with his arm and his leg. We saw him make some great throws and get himself out of some pressure situations. with his legs. And that's going to be big against, obviously, that vaunted defensive line and just that front seven for Philly. He can give some of those guys some trouble. One thing that's going to stand out to me is you saw the Rams, once they went no huddle, they kind of started to really get whatever they wanted, and nobody goes no huddle more than the Washington Commanders. So that's going to be kind of strength on how they play that. And then, how does Philly with that ball control offense and utilizing Saquon and Jalen Hurts and his legs, and then kind of looking for their moments to get the deep ball downfield. What's that going to look like? So
will the weather be similar to last week against the Rams?
I haven't heard if there's going to be snow. I mean, I know there's snow in that area just because.
And Jalen had that knee injury. They say they'll see how it responds, so we'll see if he's limited in running the ball. All right. You want to get to the conference championship games first?
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. We can touch on, since we're in the NFC, we can all right, go tell Mommy I'm coming. We can touch on the NFC side, and we can do our picks. Commanders versus Philly. Who do you see winning this game and why?
Honestly, I see Philly winning this game, and I think the one team that could have beat them was the Rams, and we saw the Rams being very, very close to getting that done. Kind of getting to the red zone, having 4 downs to get a touchdown, and they just weren't able to do that. And Philly kind of pulling that off. One thing we know is that Washington, as well as they're doing, and to get to a conference championship, knowing that they still have some holes on their rosters and that Jaden Daniels has just been a godsend. I think now they're just going up against a complete team. I trust the quarterback in Jalen Hurts. I trust that O-line. I trust their wide receivers to make more plays than what the Rams and who else and the Green Bay Packers were able to make. And Jalen, one thing he's not going to do is turn the ball over. Obviously, Jared Goff, I don't know what was on his mind, but it definitely was being gracious enough to give the ball to the other team. And that's one thing you don't necessarily have to worry about with Jalen Hurts. And I think they're going to win. It's not going to be a blowout. It's a divisional opponent. So this will be their third time playing each other, right? And but remember, they're the team that knocked Jalen Hurts out. And then the Eagles were out up 14, I think. And then Jalen Hurts gets the concussion, and then the Commanders end up, coming back, ended up winning kind of in the waning minutes of that game. And so there's a lot riding on this matchup. But I just think at home, with that crowd, with that team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I think they're going to make life a little bit more difficult for JD5, and I can see the Eagles kind of pulling away late, like they kind of did last week.
I definitely can see that, and I definitely, with that Detroit defense, just reeling, couldn't stop anybody, and Golf Washington 7 points as well didn't help the Lions' trouble. And I just think the Eagles' defense is way more tougher than Detroit, because they were top 5, and I think in both categories, run and pass defense. I'm not sure on the run, but I'm pretty sure they made an overhaul on that defense, especially with Jalen Carter in that middle, Jordan Davis. I think Philly will win. They'll win on Washington. I think Washington, I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but I think Philly will win by 10 or more points. I don't know if they're going to be winning by 21, but I can see Philly winning by 10. Only reason I don't think it'll be super blowout because I don't see Philly scoring. I don't see Philly scoring that many points unless the game calls for that. If Washington runs it up like they ran it up against the Lions, which I don't think they'll do, I think Philly can air it out with Washington because their defense isn't that great. Selfishly, I would like to see Marshawn Lattimore make a play. Since he came from the Saints, he got really tore up against the Philly last time he played him against AJ Brown. So I would like to see his name called a few times for good reasons. And I wouldn't be mad if Washington make the Super Bowl. Something new, something fresh in the NFC. Jaden Daniels making his stamp in the NFC. So it'll be a nice that'd be something nice to see. But I just see Philly and Saquon continue his magical run this year. And I have Philly taking that game. We can move to the Chiefs and Bills heavyweight matchup with Josh Allen and Mahomes. And I feel, starting this off right now, that if Josh Allen beats Mahomes and goes to the Super Bowl, I can hear, and I'm not going to say this bias on Allen's side, because if Lamar would as well, I think the rumors will come out that whoever beat Mahomes at this is better than him. People will be able to say it more with their chest out.
Yeah,
beat him, got to the Super Bowl and won. Just assuming they win the Super Bowl. But I think the whispers will come out more and more. Remember, said Josh Allen a child. It ain't happening in the comments. Was that Lindbergh? But I think I don't know. I didn't see the Bills beating the Ravens. And I would say this as well. Selfishly, like I said, I want to see Marshawn make the play. I think I want to see the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl. And this guy just gets away. It's just the way the narrative around the Chiefs, man. All these close games, the referees, it's just like flashbacks of the Patriots, but less in your face. But I just want to see a good game, but I just can't see the Bills, Chiefs. And put your money on the Chiefs, man. Who you got, bro?
Well, to your point, I would want the Bills to win this game. I mean, in my mind, I felt like the winner of the Bills and the Ravens was going to be the AFC Super Bowl representative and be the team to knock out the Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, I'm gonna stick with that. Like, granted, Buffalo is the only team to beat Kansas City when Kansas City played their starters this year.
Right.
And to me, that means something. I think what's it going to come down to is, will Josh Allen play the game that has gotten his team to this point, or will he feel like he has to do everything again? And part of that is going to be how Coach Spag coaches the defense. Is he going to say, you know what, I'm going to take James Cook away, and you and these wide receivers are going to have to beat me with your arm? And that's going to be kind of that chess match between Coach Spag and Coach Brady, defense and offense. And I'm interested in that game plan. I think if you could, you can definitely run on them. We saw Joe Mixon have success with Houston last week, and I think if Buffalo can commit to it, if Josh Allen can continue to take care of the ball and not do too much and just stay within the system that Joe Brady has designed to just make sure that we're not turning the ball over, we're not putting ourselves in bad situations, I think they're going to have a good shot. Because I think Buffalo is going to be more committed to the run than Kansas City is. And so I want to see kind of that matchup. But I'm going to go with Buffalo. But I will give you this caveat. If Buffalo is to win, they have to win like they won the last time against Kansas City. And that's double digits. And that's double digits. You cannot have this be a one-possession game and, trying to leave it, when things get tight. And we understand how the officiating has been for Kansas City and in their favor. You don't want to give them the opportunity, and they're already a really good team, right? So you don't want to give them the opportunity to hang around. And so I think Buffalo kind of has to have it on their mind and take advantage of every opportunity, score touchdowns, not field goals, and you can kind of create a level of distance for yourself, so where you can maybe get out of this game alive and get to the Super Bowl for the first time in almost 4 years.
We got a Chiefs. We got a Chiefs fan in here, Lindbergh. I work with him. He said, he ain't never beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Ain't nothing gonna change. Ain't nothing in their favor. The whole world just mad. They said the same thing about Brady. One thing I still appreciate the people who are watching as well. We got 11 people watching live. One thing I add to about the Chiefs, is we haven't really seen a great offensive game from start to finish from them. In a good damn near the whole season, but we haven't seen them put it together consistently. They had a good game versus the Texans, but that was a close game as well. A couple calls here and there went their way and they won the game. But I'll say this: I think the Chiefs can adapt and win any game. If the game calls for a high scoring game, I think they can put some points up. I would like to see the Bills lock in on Travis Kelce and take him away. Because obviously the Texans just thought he was a 7th-round draft pick, leaving him wide open in the middle of the field the whole damn game.
You can insert any team, bro.
I'm not gonna lie,
any
bro,
team
like,
with that.
he's one of the most premier tight ends ever, and he stays open.
Mhm.
Like not even like coverages somebody's on him, he shakes him off on a route.
It's not supreme
He's
route
wide,
running, right?
Nobody 10 yards in front of it. It's like he just stays open. Like the defense blows the coverage on their main target. And it's only in the playoffs. Like
There's always in key situations.
yes,
And
I'm like, how is he wide open? The best offensive player they have still, even though he's at an old age.
Like,
he's wide open every time on a 3rd down.
right.
Like I don't understand this.
You,
So the defense.
you remember watching like those coverages on like Gronk and coverages on Jimmy Graham, like they having to throw in triple and quadruple coverage because everybody on these people, and you just see Kelce just kind of running.
Yes.
This looks like a good spot to stop. Wide open.
Kelce he's a literal zone killer. He makes the man-to-man catch here and there, but most of his catches is zone and yak. Like I don't understand it. So Sean McDermott, please key in on Travis Kelce and make Kansas City beat you somewhere else. Make DeAndre Hopkins make a play, Hollywood Brown, all that. Because I believe none of the Chiefs receivers made a catch that game against the Texans.
So not to my knowledge.
I don't think they made a catch. Hollywood had a deep pass, but it was broken up at the end. So take away Travis Kelce and let's see how the offense works. Let's move on to the coaching hirings. Speaking of Joe Brady, we'll start with him. He has some head coaching options on the board. But Aaron Glenn going to the Jets today, I believe, right?
Yep, today.
Yeah, he signed with the Jets. They said yesterday he had a meeting. They didn't want him to leave out of the building because he had the Saints meeting today, Wednesday. But he signed with the Jets, got it done, and he's the new head coach. Started out with the Jets as a scout back in 2011, I believe. So
he was drafted by the Jets too. So. But you said, what do I think of it? I mean, it's a good hire. I mean, I figured that was going to be the destination that he wanted when you just kind of started to look at the opportunities. And once again, the Jets and the Saints vying for a free agent of some sort. And I just kind of felt like, that was going to be the opportunity that he took the most. It wasn't that I felt like the Saints opportunity was a bad one, but when you think about a guy who interviewed with you 4 years ago, he's your runner-up for the position. He doesn't get it, goes back to being a coordinator, continues to build his brand, has another opportunity at a head coaching interview. And your guy that you chose over him is gone, right? And yeah, I could come and lead that organization, but I'll always remember that you had a chance to pick me first and you didn't. Whereas I think with the Jets, they probably said, hey, you're our guy. I think they made him feel like he was their guy. Because even though they interviewed Mike Vrabel, I think everybody understood that Mike Vrabel wanted that Patriots job. And so I felt like in terms of rolling out the red carpet or the green carpet, as far as the Jets are concerned, Aaron Glenn was always their guy. And it was going to be him or just trying to pick up the pieces to figure out who led that program. Whereas I do think the Saints have some good options. But I like it for him. A first-time head coach. I'm a little nervous, right? Because with the Jets, and everything that comes with that organization from a job security standpoint. He did sign a 5-year deal, but how long will he be given? Obviously, they're going to want to win. He's not walking into the situation where they feel like it's a rebuild. Still have Aaron Rodgers, still have Devontae Adams, still have Garrett Wilson. They have some really good talented players in that running back on the backfield. Really good defense that I think took a step back, obviously, when Saleh got fired. And Ulbrich had to divide himself with multiple duties as the interim head coach. So I think that defense is going to kind of round back into form. They finished the season really, really well, including Aaron Rodgers. And I think they feel that, hey, why not win the AFC East? They have every opportunity to do so. and compete with the Buffalo Bills for that division title. So there's going to be some expectations with the Jets that probably wouldn't have been with the Saints, and probably because of the whole continuity and him having worked there and being respected in that building, I think there probably would have been a little bit more grace. But given it's the Jets and it's in New York City, they're going to want to see some immediate results. Not Super Bowl, but they want to make the playoffs. There's not too many fan bases as loyal as Jets fans, and they want to see a winner too. And you get a guy with Aaron Glenn that has that pedigree, did well in Detroit. They're going to want to see that as soon as possible. And now it's his job to get it done. So we'll see if he has what it takes to lead that organization.
Does Aaron Glenn have Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback next year, week 1?
I think so.
All right. I don't have too many comments on the Aaron Glenn to the Jets because I don't think very highly of the Jets anyway. They had some rumblings that Garrett Wilson might ask for a trade if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback next year. So we have to look out for that. We don't know if Devontae Adams will be back. He's a free agent. So we'll see how it goes over there. They have talent, definitely. But Aaron Rodgers is bringing in a meme quote. He's just not that guy anymore. He's not that guy. They won the same amount of games, I think less games than they won with Zach Wilson this year. So, but I'm glad they hired somebody who's not in Aaron Rodgers' pocket. Let Aaron Glenn build his own program over there, and that's how I feel about it. We can move on to Ben Johnson, who was the first guy off the board as soon as Detroit lost. He was hired, I think, a couple days later. And news that he Dennis Allen might be his defensive coordinator. Chicago has broke as well. He might be high on that. And if Darren Rizzi doesn't get a head coaching job, he's in front of the line to be the special teams coach for the Chicago Bears. So Ben Johnson and his assistants and coaching staff in line. What do you think about all that? Him bringing the Saints brass with him over there.
Yeah. I mean, right. I mean, Ben was kind of the prize candidate of the whole coaching cycle, and I think many people predicted that he'd go to the Bears, having the opportunity to work with Caleb Williams. Because when you looked at some of the other opportunities that he could have interviewed for, having the quarterback in the building already made a ton of sense, especially that quarterback being the first overall pick in the past draft. It's not surprising that he would go to that well of Saints assistants, especially like a Dennis Allen. We knew he wasn't going to be employed long. As soon as one of these coaches got hired, they were going to be calling DA because he is one of the best defensive minds in all of football. And so that's going to be really big for them too, having a guy of that caliber and being able to work with some of the guys they already have on that defense that are really talented. Like I'm thinking about Jalen Johnson right now and what he can already do at that cornerback position, and working with Dennis Allen, what that might look like for him. So that's kind of exciting if you're a Bears fan. Rizzi, I get it. I mean, I assume too, if he doesn't get the Saints job, which I think we both can agree we hope doesn't happen, that he's not going to stay in New Orleans. He's going to look elsewhere, and that would be a good opportunity. Ben Johnson is coming from a guy who came from the Saints organization in Dan Campbell, and so it would make sense, that they have some of those relationships, and that Dan probably kind of helped with some of those things and some of those conversations. I would assume, because it doesn't seem like there's any ill will to Ben not just taking the job, but taking the job with a division opponent. But it's good. I don't know. I mean, he's a first-time head coach, right? And so we never know how these guys are going to do until the lights are on. But at the very least, it seems like everybody speaks highly of him. We saw what he was able to do with that Lions offense and just allowing everybody to make plays. It really didn't matter who you put in that system. They were just able to make plays. Did it lead to a championship? No, but at the same time,
definitely one of Detroit's another good season for Detroit. But I'll say this as well. Ben Johnson, he got a little too cute with that trick play in a critical part of the game. when everything got. I know the
Hey,
reverse worked with Jameson Williams, but hey,
right.
Jared he must have said Jared Goff throwing picks. Hey, give Jameson Williams a chance to throw the ball too. Look.
But hey, everybody says the team is a reflection of their head coach. I think the same thing can be said for the assistant coaches, right? So that kind of aggressiveness, that why would you even do that?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that with Dan Campbell plenty of times, right? In terms of the decision making. So that's not a surprise,
And I will say put the ball in your best player's hands, but I guess it's not Jared Goff. so he put it in his best playmaker hands other than Gibbs. So. But we shall move on, man. That's another guy taking off the board. We talked about Vrabel.
I think we talked about Vrabel, but I mean he's hired Josh McDaniels to be his offensive coordinator, and actually hired another Lions assistant to be the DC. So
the Lions defensive lineman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coach. Yeah, yep. So he's gonna be that defensive coordinator. So he's established his two coordinators over there. I want to touch on the 4 teams that are left: Saints, Cowboys, Jags, and Raiders. And we could touch on Jags because Liam Cohen, offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has withdrawn his name from head coach and is with the Bucs. Do you like this move for Liam Cohen?
Well, I did think Liam would take the Jags job, and a lot of people said, Bulky, Trent Bulky still kind of being within the organization.
Jags
right?
just
fired him, right? Which is kind of stupid because why didn't you just fire him? Probably could have been able to have Liam Cohen, but
that's what the report said. They said they finally realized that the head coach wasn't going to come as long as he was the GM. So he's fired.
But you know what? I think Liam's kind of playing a long game. I think some of the things we always discussed with him was, he could potentially take over the head coaching position with Tampa Bay if they don't necessarily meet their expectations. Again, they lost in the first round, lost at home, and Todd Bowles is on some thin ice. And Liam Cohen signed an extension. Is going to be the highest paid OC, if I'm not mistaken. And it's one of those things where if they do really, really well, he can get another job in 2026. Or if they do start off poorly, they've kind of put him in a position where you fire Todd Bowles and you elevate him. Somebody said on Twitter basically what Clint Kubiak thought was going to happen in New Orleans, but you got to actually know how to cover, call plays in the second half to get that opportunity.
I'll say this from the Jags point of view, just bad all around. What are y'all doing over there? Y'all got and I believe Trevor Lawrence got hurt as well.
Yep, he did.
It's like the end of the season.
Yeah, like the last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, so they just coming off giving him 70 million.
Something like
and
that.
having a worst season. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been anything close to what a number 1 pick should be. He had one good season, and that was a half a good season.
Like 8 or 9 game stretch.
Yeah. When they came back against the Justin Herbert when they blew that 28-point lead, I think. And he threw, I think, 3 picks in one half of that game, but they had a good second half. So Trevor Lawrence has some things to prove to me. I don't know if he has to prove anything to Jaguars fans. I'm sure he does. They're not happy with his play. So getting in a good coach, obviously looked like they was bringing in an offensive mind to help him out and to at least Pro Bowl status or playoff status again. But I don't know who's on their list after. I see a couple names that I seen like Todd Monken. I seen Joe Brady as well.
Yeah,
and I seen a couple other guys when I was looking at it.
So this week they brought 2 candidates in for second interviews. That was Patrick Graham, who was the defensive coordinator for the Raiders this past season, and Robert Saleh. And I think he's actually meeting with them probably as we speak. So of the 2, he might be the favorite of those candidates. And I know a lot of people are kind of waiting to see what goes on with him. I know the 49ers would love for him to be the defensive coordinator. There's been some rumors that the Lions would extend an offer to him as well. But if he does take that head coaching opportunity with the Jags, obviously they'll have to look elsewhere. To your point, Joe Brady is now, when you think of an offensive guy, he's kind of somebody that they had on their radar, but Liam was obviously their prize candidate, and he, reneged on that. So they could bring in Joe Brady, Todd Monken, to your point. Could look at a Mike McCarthy if they want to go to veteran head coach route, but something tells me that they want to try to start fresh. But if they don't start fresh, it might be Robert Saleh.
Okay. And we can move to the last three teams. We talk Cowboys and Raiders, and we'll see about Saints for last. Cowboys is looking like a familiar face. Kellen Moore. Obviously, I knew you have Kellen Moore going to from your prediction. But let's start with the Cowboys first. Mike couldn't reach the extension with Mike McCarthy, and they basically just parted ways. Who was on the radar for them? I'm gonna try to pull up who they have interviews with.
They talked with Coach Prime. They talked with Kellen. But they requested an interview with Kellen. I think he interviewed with them. Cliff Kingsbury, they requested an interview with him. Jason Witten requested an interview with him. And they actually today interviewed Brian Schottenheimer, who's the offensive coordinator for the second time. He's actually the odds-on favorite to get the job in Dallas. If I had to guess right now, and if I had to guess, I mean, Jerry obviously is going to play a big part in who the head coach is. But I also think they're going to have to lean on, who Dak wants, just because you've kind of tied yourself to him for a number of years with the contract you gave him being the highest paid QB in the league right now. And so if you're going to make that head coaching hire, it has to be a guy that I think Dak kind of buys into and want to see. And he and Brian Schottenheimer were working well together. Of course, Mike McCarthy was the primary play caller this season, but I can see, Dak saying, hey, I like where we're going with Brian, keep him around. But if that doesn't work out, I can see a Kellen Moore or Cliff Kingsbury kind of taking that job.
Okay. As I'm reading, it says, they say the Cowboys currently are not planning to set or request interviews for additional head coaching candidates. It could change. It also likely that they have seen enough from their current list of candidates. And basically, like you said, Brian Schottenheimer and Kellen Moore are the serious candidates there. Your final decision on who you think gets picked?
I'm gonna go with Brian. I know the narratives around Kellen and kind of what it was when he was the offensive coordinator, and they kind of thought it was going to be a Jason Garrett situation. Probably one of the reasons why Kellen ended up having to go to the Chargers and being dismissed, because I guess Mike kind of felt the pressure on his back or whatever it was. But I just think Brian is probably going to get his opportunity. Obviously, we'll talk about my viewpoint with Kellen and where he goes. But I just think kind of having Brian in that room for the past couple of years, there's that continuity with Dak and the offense that they have built thus far around him. And so I think they're going to want to try to stick with that. I think he's also a guy that, won't push the button and will just accept whatever Jerry gives. He kind of gives me those vibes and seems like a guy that, Jerry would say, yeah, I'll give him a 3 or 4 year deal and see how it works. Because I think Kellen, even though he has history with that organization, he's going to want to see things run a certain way. And I don't know if he's built up enough cachet with Jerry Jones to demand such a thing, especially being the first time head coach.
Okay. We'll move on to the Raiders, and news around the Raiders is that they're targeting Pete Carroll. I think the Raiders are still trying to close on their GM. I think
they just assistant GM for the Bucks just signed with them.
What was his name? Is it Spitty?
Maybe. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Raiders GM.
Yeah, so it's Spittick or
John Spittick.
No, right. That's funny. His name spells Spy Tech and the whole Spy.
Oh yeah, Spy Tech.
No wonder why Brady loved him. It's spelled like that. I doubt it, but it would be funny if it was.
Yeah, that was. I think it's John Spinning, but we can go with Spy Tech. That's a great name. But yes, he just signed with them 4 hours ago. That's crazy. And his guy was actually he wanted Ben Johnson, but looks like they're circling their rounds for former Seahawks coach, former USC coach, Pete Carroll. Do you like the pick coming off of Antonio Pierce?
I mean, I like Pete. I think Pete always could coach. Even his last season with the Seahawks, they had a winning season. So I think it'll be good. If you're going to go the veteran route, I think you kind of swung and missed on some of the high prize candidates. You missed on Ben Johnson, obviously. Aaron Glenn didn't even want to take an interview with you. And so when you kind of think about the guys that are available, I think Pete Carroll is a good guy to at least steady the ship a little bit and get them to a level of decency again as an organization, and then kind of setting it up for obviously your next true head coach, maybe the guy that's going to lead you for the next 10 years. I can see Pete kind of just being that stabilizing force for the Raiders, that, hey, we just need a guy that knows what he's doing, can help us kind of, win some games, let our veterans feel good about where we might be. And then in about 2 or 3 years, we'll obviously be moving on to someone else.
Okay. I'm gonna get to the Saints coaching search. I'm pulling it up right here. After Aaron Glenn has signed with the Jets, Saints wire ranked the candidates for who the Saints should hire, and number one on the list is Joe Brady. I'm scrolling up.
Of course.
Computer moving kind of slow. Joe Brady. See Miami Dolphins, DC Anthony Weaver, number second. Let's go through the list. And we can touch on most of the guys. Mike McCarthy, number 3. And I seen him number 1 on a couple of lists for Saints. My guy, Washington Commanders, Cliff Kingsbury, who said he's not doing anything as well. He's trying to focus. And with a Super Bowl berth on the line, Mike Kafka, oh my God, the Saints Twitter went up in a roar when they saw he for his second interview. And 6, intern coach Darren Ridgey was. And 7, John Gruden. Man, John Gruden will be. It wouldn't be out the blue, but it will be just crazy for me to see that coming through. But that was just mean to me that Derek Carr's starter. And we in for another long year. But what do you think about the list? Joe Brady first. You can touch on him if you want.
Well, first of all, I want the author of this article arrested. Is what I want. That's what I want. But I've been hearing the Joe Brady buzz, and honestly, bro, I've almost been begging people to tell me why. Why Joe? Outside of him being young, outside of him being an offensive head coach, outside of him having worked here before, I have heard nothing else. I haven't heard about, unless you want to, every now and then everybody will bring up the 2019 LSU national championship team and what he did there. And even with that, I'm like, okay, how is it that all of those players have been able, and those star players is what I'm talking about, have been able to maintain that level of superstardom and excellence? And he hasn't. And I know he hasn't because we saw him in Carolina. We've seen Joe Brady without superior talent, and it's not good. I mean, even his fixing of Josh Allen was basically, hey, stop throwing the ball so much. We're just going to utilize your legs. Okay. And so it's not this great thing that makes me feel like he can come in and build that culture, reestablish that culture of winning here in New Orleans. So every time I see him as like a top candidate, I just always want to know why. And if you can only give me the big 3, he's young, he's an offensive coach, and he worked here, you're setting us up for failure, in my opinion. Obviously, Anthony Weaver, they brought him in for a second interview. Had a really good defense with the Miami Dolphins after coming over from Baltimore. For me, I always felt like he was a guy that you like and you want to kind of bring in, but he's more so kind of getting that experience of going through this, and he's probably a 2026 candidate for somebody else's franchise. Right. But who knows how he's interviewed? But maybe he did well enough to where they want to give him the job. Mike McCarthy, am I thrilled? No, but I'm
It's
not.
crazy when we continue. Every time Mike McCarthy name comes up, it's the would be the most exciting hire, but because everybody
But
says I'm not
and that's the
thrilled.
truth of the matter. But here's the thing, Tay. We've missed the playoffs 4 years in a row.
Right.
With Mike McCarthy, I know at the very least he's going to have us in position to make the playoffs. That's at least that's what his resume says.
Right.
So everybody's like, "Oh, he doesn't have the innovation in this and that." I'm like, he's a winner.
We need
When he gets with
results.
the Green Bay,
We don't need innovation.
right?
When
When he went to Green Bay, he won. When he went to Dallas, he won. Did he win a championship? No, but his team was always in a position to go get a championship, and it just didn't happen. And if you're like, well, he never really, he always had these playoff lapses, and had really good teams that just didn't make it far enough and get it done. Well, you know who else had that same experience in New Orleans for a number of years? Our very own Sean Payton. So
with a Hall of Fame quarterback as well,
with a Hall of Fame quarterback, right?
Right.
And at the very least, Mike was able to leave said Hall of Fame quarterback and still build a winning culture in Dallas that was a walking 8-8 when he took over. So it's not a surprise.
Sean in the playoffs with Bo Nixon. I don't play with Sean.
Yeah, and what happened? They took that L because he ran that 2000s offense and it just couldn't push it in the biggest part of the season.
Don't do that, man. Bo Nixon run up offensive player of the year.
Whatever. Yeah, he was running around.
Cliff Kingsbury, Bo Nix will be offensive player rookie of the year.
You think so?
Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels. But this is my guy.
This is your guy, Cliff.
Yeah, love what he's doing. Called about a few weeks back. Love what he's doing in Washington, man. I love the offensive mind coaches. I think he'll run circles around Kubiak. But
Cliff would be my second. He would be my third option. And I'll tell you my top three in a second because let's just go roll through them. But I'll tell you a point. I like Kingsbury. I like that he's made the game easy for Jaden. Yes. Everybody's like, "Oh, they run a college offense." So
who cares?
His quarterback just came from college.
Like I don't get this. Who cares what type of offense they run? They're in a conference.
Is it working?
You adapt to your quarterback. He did the same thing with Kyle Murray to the whatever with them. The only thing that he was so young, Kyle thought he knew more than Cliff. So they
right. Look, you don't have to worry about Jaden Daniels skipping film to go play Call of Duty. So yes. it is what it is, right? So, but I do like Cliff. And obviously, one of the things that make it hard for him, or made it hard for him, and with us, is him wanting to wait until the playoffs are over, right. Which is admirable. I get it, but it's kind of hard when we've kind of brought in guys that we're going to have interviewed twice, and you're coming in on your first interview, and we're the Senior Bowls next week, and then you're really having to start to get into the combine. Like you kind of want to have an idea of who your guy is in the next week or so. But right. If they want to wait patiently, and I think next week after conference championship weekend, they can actually go and fly in and have in-person interviews. So
it's crazy because they come into New Orleans if they get to the conference championship.
So they'll already be there, right?
Come on down to Airline and have some interviews in between time.
Yeah. And who do they have after Cliff?
Go ahead.
No, who do they have after Cliff?
I think it was Mike Kafka.
Oh yeah. I coached generational quarterback Patrick Mahomes once upon a time. Congratulations. I can be the Chiefs quarterback coach. I can guarantee you that.
Man,
I can be the Chiefs quarterback coach.
I wanted to say I knew we were a little bit far down, but Mike McCarthy. I want this is a quick question that we move on from him. He came from winning culture, but he's never had I would say things are in between rebuilding and tearing it down. Well, rebuilding and still want to win. What do you think he'll fit in that type of team? Because Dallas, they have the quarterback established. We don't know I think if we move with like a Mike McCarthy type guy, I think they're like settling in that we're going with probably a Derek Carr at quarterback. What do you think of that?
I'm honestly not so sure. I get it because Mike's a veteran and he's going to be 62, I think, this year. Yeah. So the idea is that he's always taking over with the veteran quarterback. Right. But think about, his tenure with the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
He took over. Brett Favre was there, but after a while, it was, hey, we really have this young guy that we need to really go after.
Mm-hmm.
And had Mike been an accomplished head coach, one could argue that his stint with Green Bay, he goes to Aaron Rodgers a lot sooner. But you can't come in your first head coaching job and say, hey, can we move off of Brett and start Aaron Rodgers? That's not going to fly there, especially at that point in terms of Brett Favre's resume. And so I think with him coming to the Saints and having had accomplishments in this league, he doesn't have to tie himself to Derek Carr. So he doesn't have to if he doesn't want to. And I'm not of the mindset that he would want to. I think he'd want to bring, whether it's in the draft or bring some other guys in free agency for competition purposes, and kind of moving off the Carr and letting Spencer Rattler and whoever he brings in kind of be that guy. Like I can see, let's say, he likes Spencer Rattler, at least from a young option, right? You get rid of Derek Carr, you have Spencer Rattler, you bring in a Cooper Rush, a guy that you've had experience with.
Man,
right. Hey,
bring in
9-5 as a starter. And he's going to know your system. So does that mean he's going to start for you? No. But he can be your backup quarterback and and be the eyes on the sideline for a young Spencer Rattler of, hey man, this is what we're seeing. This is what coaches want you to do. So that's kind of what you can see with that. Or he can just go draft a quarterback because he's never had that opportunity in his career. He had 2 quarterbacks already there in Green Bay. He had Dak in Dallas, and maybe this might be his opportunity to say, hey, I want to, for the first time in my career, go and get a guy and see what that feels. So,
all right. Speaking of course, the Matt Kafka, this is basically what you said. Look what the article reads. This was a bit of a surprising name here to be a serious candidate. Y'all got to get this edited. It says her to be a serious candidate, given just how poorly the Giants were this offseason. But Kafka is still held in high regard for his time with Kansas City. The Andy Reid coaching tree will spit out head coaches for some time to come.
Guess what quarterback it doesn't mention?
Mahomes?
No, Daniel Jones, because that's the one where he was the offensive coordinator. We can't talk about what's going on with Daniel Jones, who regressed every year under his tutelage. Like, no, everybody can't be Patrick Mahomes. Right. And you can just skip that name. I don't want to see it. It's disgusting.
We can skip these two
back to back.
Well, matter of fact, we can skip the last 3: Kafka, Ridley, and Gruden. Them 3, they just rolled out. But I do want to get on the Alvin Kamara tweet because he said he endorsed Ridley, of course, and then he got in this spat with a Twitter commented because they said, let me see if I can still do that. It's probably gone, but he said, basically, I'm trying to paraphrase. If you're not on the field, y'all don't know how to ever play any organized type of football sport. Only ever played on man. You shouldn't be something I think commenting or something, but you still have
basically saying you don't have the credentials to talk about head coaches.
Right.
And here's the thing.
The commoners
we've been around enough star athletes to know whenever they start to pump out the credentials of what I've done versus what you haven't, they're about to say probably the dumbest thing you've ever heard.
Yeah, and I say this to that because I don't know if it's a supporter of the Saints or comment said basically you can't talk sports if you don't play in the NFL, and they went back and forth. But I'll say this. Usually this is why players usually be players, because they're bad at picking like up teammates because it's too much relationship involved in it. If we had a player being a GM, the team would most likely be horrible because they're how y'all their friends and they're how y'all their buddies, and that's why that's why they endorsed Dennis Allen. He was familiar face. They was around him. To get the head coach, that was Sean Payton left. This is why they're endorsing Darren Rizzi. I bet if you ask 1,000 guys on the team, who would they like to be the head coach? They'll be, I want Rizzi back because there's a sense of loyalty. He's our guy. We don't want him going no man. It feels like betrayal if you ask for another head coach. Same thing with the quarterback position. If you ask somebody, can we improve at quarterback? No, they recall our quarterback. He's out. Come on now. We doing a proper answer, but do you want to stay in purgatory, not making the playoffs, and be comfortable with your head coach or do you want to get uncomfortable bringing in a new face that you don't know who can improve the team? And granted, like you said, we don't know how head coach is going to do. I picked Cliff. He was horrible at Arizona, but that was his first job. He came in real young, surprise hire. He's got way more years in the league now. I think he can bring something to the Saints team. But what do you think of the tweet?
Well, bro, you know that tweet ticked me off because
yes,
I think it shed light on why we have missed the playoffs 4 years in a row. Because once upon a time we had winners in the building. We had guys that had a standard that they felt needed to be upheld. And we're clearly seeing our two leaders stand up for mediocrity. And as a fan, I'm tired of it. Like, okay, like how many times over these past 3 years we've been saying, man, we got a free AK. Man, these veterans, they don't deserve this. They need a chance at winning. And then they show us exactly that they're getting what they want. Oh, we getting paid. We get to do what we're doing. We get to fumble and turn the ball over all the time and don't have repercussions. Or we just, we've been having to stretch all our lives before, practice, but we don't have to do that anymore. We just go and do it. Who cares if we get hurt? We still get paid. We're not going to get held accountable. And clearly that's what they want. They wanted it. We see it with our quarterback. We saw it with our running backs. We're seeing it with our defenders and the penalties and just the inattention to detail. And that's just who they are. And it's almost like we talking about getting a coach. I'm like, okay, when we get this new coach, you need to give them the power to get rid of some of these guys. The same way when Sean Payton came in, and there were guys we loved from the Saints era. We loved Joe Horn, but he wasn't a good locker room guy. Sean got rid of him. We love Charles Grant. Wasn't a good locker room guy. Sean got rid of him. So there's going to be some guys that when this new coach comes in, they're going to have to get rid of. And that's why they want Rizzy, because Rizzy, oh, well, yeah, Cam, you probably should be playing defensive tackle. Probably should have made that switch 4 years ago. But you can still play edge and allow us to lose games because you can't keep up with the modern quarterback.
You can't
Alvin
anymore.
Yeah, Alvin, you're always going to be our best running back, and we're going to make sure we draft the worst running backs in the draft, so therefore you can always get your touches, Alvin.
Hey, all right, I got the tweet. I got the tweet pulled up because y'all pissed my guy Trey off. I don't really speak too much quotation. I don't really speak too much football, especially in the off season. But it'd be funny hearing why y'all think a coach should get a job or not. But then again, the last time some of y'all played organized anything was last night on 2K. Granted, I don't play 2K anymore. Been retired for 4 years. Can't even get your best friend to pass you the ball at the park. Wife mad as hell at you, yelling on the game all night. I'm 0 for 3 in all them shots he took, so I'm pretty good with this statement. I'm not mad at it.
You know why my wife mad at me? My wife mad at me because I be yelling at y'all looking like bums every Sunday. That's why my wife mad at me. Okay.
Then this was the guy who responded. 3_films with a Z. We can't have an opinion because we're not in the NFL. Y'all heard it here, folks. They come out and respond. Quotations. Nah, that's not what I said. If I wanted to say that, I would have. This tweet is for everyone, broadcasters, some fans, some players, my mama, all that. But I see some of y'all want to be victims, so proceed. Your boy responded. You found it laughable that people who never played an organized sport had an opinion who you should coach, who should coach their team. But okay, nice backtrack. Camaro response. Yeah, a lot of people fall in that category. I'm confused on why you're confused about that. I'm not confused about anything. Anyone can have an opinion. You was condescending about it, and now you're trying to backtrack. Last thing on Camaro response. If I say something, I'm not backtracking, shorty. What I said is some of these opinions are funny based on the level of expertise I have in a particular field that I'm discussing. I'm not taking away anyone's First Amendment right. You're entitled to your opinion. Shit, probably funny still. And the last comment from the guy, another guy. To be fair, you might be in the NFL, but you don't know much about women. So it can be argued you don't have the credentials to decide much good decisions regarding hiring or anything. And that's why I stopped, bro. Because I said, man, that's cold blooded. Because he must be a new fan.
First off,
he won like his first 6 years in the league. Never won a big thing, but he was always in the playoff. Well, with Drew Brees, I see. He won as long as he was with Drew Brees. He won. Same goes with Michael Thomas and all the other guys who got drafted in the 2017 class. But I kind of agree with the first guy who we was talking to.
Because he was backtracking.
Yes, I think he was kind of fiddling with his answer after the guy called him out on it. After the guy said, "Hey, if you're not in the NFL, you can't have an opinion." He kind of backtracked. He kind of did backtrack. But hey, like I said, my thoughts on it is, my thoughts on Kamara the past few years. We don't have to go over that. I talked about it a bunch. Failing to get that 1,000-yard season this year. I thought he was going to come back for the game and get those 50 yards. He decided to not play. Probably want to preserve his body. Didn't really care about it. That says a lot about him. Wasn't chasing the 1,000-yard season. But I don't think the team should be listening to a 30-year running back about a head coaching job anyway. So his tweet to me doesn't even really matter at all. When I think he's going to be a trade candidate next year, finally.
And to your point, and I think I tweeted you. Somebody was like, man, like they kind of was like, man, y'all always making up these narratives and everything about people. And I was like, look, at the end of the day, I don't care what a person on a roster that's missed the playoffs 4 years in a row has to say about the head coach and who needs to be our leader. Because at some point, losing has set into the culture. Was it always that way? Was it always that way in his career? No. To your point, his first few years, hey, we winning 4 straight division titles.
Out now, Trey. He's balancing out. Half of his career will be winning. The other half, without Brees, is losing. So it's balancing out to a losing career and a winning career. And the back end is looking worse because when you go into retirement losing, it's worse. Nobody remembers 3 years, especially if you didn't win a Super Bowl during these years.
We around here on Twitter, we on podcasts, we out here in the streets saying, man, we got to get Dennis Allen out here. We got to get some people that know how to run this thing. And we vouching for 3 and 5, which, look, by the way, because I didn't get to say it, I'm team Kellen Moore because he fits the mold, young, offensive-minded, but he actually has credentials. 6 years as offensive coordinator, has developed every quarterback room he's been a part of in the sense of, I'm going to build what makes you better. And he did it with Dak. He did it with Justin Herbert before Justin Herbert got hurt. And he's done it with Jalen Hurts this year. I think what he's done with the backups, I talked about Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush was 4-1 his first year starting with Kellen Moore. Here with the Eagles. Like, bro, I still don't think Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee can play NFL football, but they sure as hell look like they could the last 2 weeks of the season. And so that lets me know that there's a level of intensity and preparation where everybody's getting that investment. And so I can lean on that and say, okay, well, what happens when he has everybody at his disposal? You want to see that level of investment in everybody. Like, what's one of the things we talked about as fans these past few years of not only are we missing the playoffs, the guys that we're drafting aren't developing at the rate that we need them to continue to be successful.
Yes.
And you want to bring a guy in that has a history of developing and showing that. And look, it just can't be Rizzy. Like, you just can't sell that to the fan base. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know how you do it.
And I see people saying I'm fine with Rizzy.
I'm not.
Oh, I'm not. Sorry.
Like,
nothing against Rizzy. We need new team.
Because people gonna hear us say this, and they're gonna be like, well, y'all don't want Rizzy just because he one of those he worked here type of guys. No. This is why I don't want Rizzy. I love his energy. I think he should be a part of the staff if he wants.
I think he's ready for the head coach position.
But I don't think he's ready.
Yes.
And we saw that. We saw special teams decline when he became the interim. So that lets me know right then and there, it's going to be hard for you to focus on some of the things that make you great when you have to take.
He did have the Rizzy with the kicks though.
He did.
A lot of niggas missed when he took over.
Yep. But we had so we had that. We had situational errors, especially with the usage of timeouts and what we're doing in the 2-minute drills and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I still saw us being okay in the first half and then falling off in the second half on both sides of the ball and not being able to put together a complete game. And and people are like, well, it's injuries and this and that. And I'm like, well, if we're going to give Rizzy that excuse, then what we fired Dennis Allen for?
Right.
He had the same injuries.
Because
We still saw some of the same
he's had
issues.
multiple years. I have
And that's true.
just to bounce off what you said. I'm playing devil's advocate.
But like
Bringing that up,
we
Allen had multiple years before, and Rizzy, if you want to say that, he just got through the head coaching job. This is what people might say who wants Rizzy. Give him a full offseason as the head coach. Let him get his own staff together, and not a staff that's been inherited. Having him pick his quarterback. Maybe he wants to say, "Hey, I'm going with Rattler." Full off season. Maybe
he told us what he wanted to go with.
I'm going to keep rolling with Derek Carr. Hey, that's what people might say. I'm not disagreeing with you. I want a new head coach, but I'm just saying that people going for Rizzy, this is things they might point out.
And you know what did it for me, honestly, what sealed the deal? Because I could have maybe been talked into Rizzy at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I was 3-1 with Derek Carr as my quarterback. I was like, nope, we're done because you wanna get the game back together, and we've been there, done that. We need to rebuild. But
yes, I get tired of these things because it's like it does come down to wins and losses, but it comes down to context. Same thing with last year. We beat a bunch of bad teams at the end of the year, and they convinced themselves that, hey, we had a great end of the season. When we fired Dennis Allen, they won the next week. They went on and scored not even a bunch of points. They beat a bad team and talk about, oh, this is for Dennis Allen. That's what Derek Carr said at the end of the game in the post game. This one is for Allen, man. We come out here and fight. We do this. This one is for Allen. This is for Coach Allen. Move on from Rizzy. Pick a quarter. Pick a coach. Roll with your plan. Your quarterback. Hopefully, Derek Carr's out. No matter what coach you get from me. But that's all I have to say.
Because we know the coaching decision is coming soon. If not this week, next week. Who is your last guess of who's going to be the head coach?
My last guess. My last guess about who I think is going to be. I think it's going to be one of the Mikes.
Okay.
One of the Mike, Kafka or McCartney.
Okay.
And I don't want that to be them, but I think it's going to be those guys. Mm-hmm. One of them. I don't think it's going to be Cliff because, like you said, it's too late. Hopefully, Washington lose selfishly so he can get the schedule interview quickly and get his staff together and things like that. Because obviously, we're probably going to be having a new DC, new OC like that. But who do you think is going to be other than your guy if it happens?
Okay, so other than Kellen, because one of the reasons why I think it would be Kellen is I think while the Dallas job is attractive, I think this job offers him a better opportunity of building the team the way he wants it because Jerry's going to build the team that he wants. But if I had to guess last ditch, I'm with you. It's one of the Mikes, and I'm thinking Mike McCarthy. Just when I think of they want a winner, and if you're going to hire a veteran coach, right, a guy who has done the job before, it at least has to be a guy that has put together a resume of wins and winning. And if they are going to listen to their vets and bring a guy in that is going to make the most out of what's left of their careers, I can see that being Mike and him bringing some really decent assistance with him to kind of get us back on track in the next year or two. So that's kind of my guess is if they want to go the veteran route, I think it's Mike McCarthy. I think if they want to go fresh and especially young, I think Kellen Moore ends up providing a better pitch.
We're kind of on the same page with that. Your first guy is Kellen Moore. My first guy is Kingsbury. And we both land on Mike McCarthy. And I think it would be great for Mike McCarthy's career for him because he doesn't have that Hall of Fame quarterback anymore. He had a good quarterback in Dak Balance, made the playoffs, but he's dealing with whoever his quarterback is. I don't know. He's up in the air. Whoever it is, they're not better than Dak. at this current moment. So he can come and say, "Hey, I fixed this team. They missed the playoffs 4 times in a row. It's not a hard division to win, so I think it's attractive to head coaches. He does a couple wins here and there, 9 to 10 wins. You should be able to win this division. No dominant quarterback. Baker has resurged, but he isn't a dominant quarterback. So I think it'd be good for Mike McCarthy, man. But we'll see where it lands. How soon do you think the coach get hired?
I think it's probably gonna end up being next week, just because I do think they want to bring Joe and Kellen in. And even at that point, Cliff might be available, but for sure, I think they want to have an in-person sit down with Joe and Kellen before they make any decisions. But I do think of the guys this week. I think to both of our points, I think Mike McCarthy might make the best selling point out of the guys that have been brought in this week. But next week is going to tell a lot about where we go.
Okay, y'all let us know who will fill the last 4 coaching head coach spots with the Raiders, Cowboys, Saints, and who am I forgetting?
Jags.
Y'all let us know who y'all think will fill those positions, mainly the Saints. Also appreciate y'all for coming on live. I think we climbed up to like 16 live viewers at one point in time. Still got 13 in here. We'd like for y'all to comment, man. Use the comment if you're on YouTube, Twitter. Y'all comment, drop y'all thoughts, man, because we want to interact with y'all when y'all on here with us. We appreciate y'all tuning in. This is the Bayou Ballers podcast, and we are out. Y'all enjoy y'all night.